Good morning, students. Let's continue with Romeo and Juliet. I'm sure you all have your book with you. Open to page number 47. So let's continue. In vain, Romeo warned him to keep off. Now this is the time when Romeo got the news that Juliet is dead, and he rushed back towards Verona. He's here in Verona and he really wanted to see her for the last time. He was carrying a bottle of poison with him as well. Now before he could actually, at that same night when he really wanted to go and see Juliet, who was actually guarding her grave? Count Paris. So Count Paris was already there. In vain, Romeo warned him to keep off. Now Romeo was really in despair. He was sad. He was feeling bad that he had lost the love of his life. So he was feeling bad, and that's why he warned Count Paris to stay away from Romeo. He says here, or he would kill him. Now Romeo gave him a straight warning, just to stay away, or else Romeo will have to kill Count Paris. Now this Count Paris is the same person whom Juliet was supposed to get married to. Romeo had no idea, and he had no information as such that Count Paris was supposed to get married to Juliet. They fell to fighting. So these two boys, what they did, they started fighting. And daring to do anything in his mad despair, Romeo killed the unlucky nobleman. Now Romeo was filled with sadness and grief. He really wanted to see Juliet for the last time. And in his despair, in his sadness, he actually killed the nobleman. Who's the nobleman here? Count Paris. In his dying moment, he cried. Now this Count Paris, when he was dying, in that moment he cried, "If you be merciful, open this grave and lay me with Juliet." Now before dying, he said, "Please, I want you to open this grave and let me die. Let me lie near Juliet." Then Romeo, by the light of his lamp, looked and saw who the young man was. Now Romeo had no idea who this young man was. He was just fighting and killing. But the moment he saw, he felt, he was surprised. Then Romeo, by the light of his lamp, means he took his lamp and he checked the person. He saw that he was that same Paris who, as he had heard, was to marry Juliet. Now we can see that somehow he must have got the idea. So when he took his light, he looked at the face of the person. He saw that it was Count Paris, the same person who was supposed to get married to Juliet. Romeo was moved by fellow feeling and pity for one as unhappy as himself. So Romeo, he felt really sad. He felt pity for the poor gentleman. He felt pity for Count Paris, and he actually thought of putting him next to Juliet. So he lifted the dead body. He lifted the dead body and laid it beside that of Juliet in the grave. So he lifted Count Paris's dead body. Then looking long at still form of Juliet, lovely in death as in life, Romeo tenderly laid his last kisses upon her lips, quietly drank his cup of poison and died. Now Romeo, he just gave Juliet the last kiss. He took out his bottle of poison and he drank it. And the moment he drank it, he died. Now the last hour was come when the effect of Friar Lawrence's magic liquid had worn off. So that was the last hour of that magical potion. Now when that was over, and with it came also Friar Lawrence alone with spade and iron bar. So finally Friar Lawrence, he also reached the place with spade and iron bar. For the messenger whom he had sent to Mantua had not arrived there, having met with some unlucky accident on the road. So he got the news that the messenger whom he had sent to Mantua to meet Romeo has not yet arrived, and that confirmed his grief and sadness. When the priest learned this, he made haste to be at Juliet's burial place at the time of her awakening. So he got so scared, Friar Lawrence, he rushed towards the grave of Juliet so that he would be present there when Juliet opens her eyes. For Romeo, he supposed would not be there. He thought maybe Romeo is not there. That is why he rushed and he reached to Juliet's grave. But as he made his way in the dark through the churchyard, a servant came forward who had come with Romeo. He had stayed away from Juliet's grave as Romeo had strictly ordered him to do. Now there was a servant outside Juliet's grave and he was waiting for Romeo. He didn't dare, he never dared to enter the grave. He was just waiting outside the grave. Now this man pointed out where the spot was. Now this servant who was there, he pointed the place where Friar Lawrence could go. And he told him where he would find Romeo. By the light of the lamp, the priest felt his way along, strangely fearful. He was feeling scared. What was the light he was burning just outside the grave? What was those stains of blood on the ground? What were those stains of blood on the ground? Whose bodies were these? Now he was very scared, Friar Lawrence, that who were the people who fought here? Whose blood stains are these? He came near and saw the bodies of Romeo and Paris, and beside them Juliet, slowly awakening from her long sleep. Juliet opened her eyes and saw the priest. Gradually her senses came back to her and her memory. "Where is my lord?" she addressed Friar Lawrence. "I do remember well where I should be, and there I am. Where is my Romeo?" The priest was about to reply when he heard the noise of people coming for the servant of Paris had run away from the scene of the fight to bring the night watchman. Fearful of being found there with the waking Juliet, he begged her to come away quickly. He was scared. He really wanted Juliet to run away from there. But Juliet, who had seen Romeo by her side, would not move. So the priest went and hid at a distance. Then Juliet saw that Romeo was dead with the poison cup in his hand. She at once knew how, taking her for dead, he had drunk poison. In her sudden pain of mind, she drew a knife she had with her and ran it into her own heart. When the watchmen saw the 3 dead bodies and all signs of fight, they held under arrest the servant of Romeo and Paris, and also the poor priest who had been found at hand. Means he was also there. The poor priest, he was also captured by the soldiers. They sent for the Prince of Verona and the parents of the dead. So finally, Prince of Verona was there and the parents of the dead. And there, when the prince called upon him to tell all he knew, the sad old priest told the whole story. Here are his words. Now let's see what are the words of this old priest. It is important, please make sure you know it. "I will tell my tale shortly, since my life itself cannot now be as long as a long tale." So he says here, whatever happened, now I'll tell you the whole story about it. Right? As there's nothing more that can happen. Give me a minute. Then he says here, "Romeo there dead was the husband to that Juliet, and she there dead was Romeo's faithful wife. I married them. Their stolen marriage day was the day on which Tybalt met with his death, which sent Romeo out of the city. And Juliet's sorrow was not caused by Tybalt's sad fate, but by Romeo's leaving her. You." The priest pointed to Lord Capulet, thinking to comfort her, encouraged her to come Paris, and would have married her to him by force. Then she would come to me, and with wild looks asked me to find some means of saving her from this second marriage. saying that this otherwise she would kill herself in front of me. I gave her a sleeping medicine, which I had made by my aunt. It took effect as I intended, for it worked for her on her the form of death. Meanwhile, I wrote to Romeo asking him to come tonight and help me take her from her borrowed grave, when the power of my medicine should come to the end. But my messenger was stopped by accident, and last evening my letter came back to me. Then all alone, at the hour of her awakening, I came to take Juliet from the grave and keep her secretly with me till I could conveniently send for Romeo. When I came some minutes before the time of her awakening, here lay noble Paris and Romeo dead. Then Juliet awoke. I asked her most earnestly to follow me and bear this work of heaven with patience. Just then a noise frightened me away from the place, and she, in her great sorrow and despair, would not leave it, but as it seemed, did violence on her. All this I know, and her nurse, too, knew about her marriage. If in this matter anything went wrong because of my fault, let my old life be sacrificed some time before its natural end, as justice shall demand. So he tells the Prince of Verona straight away that what the actual truth was, that they were married to each other, and how he is somewhat to be blamed. He should be punished because of his doings as well. At last, the prince, turning to the lords Montague and Capulet, bitterly accused them. The prince was really angry with both the lords, saying that the foolish quarrels between the two families had been the first cause of all these painful happenings. And so at last, after all the troubles that had come upon them, the old nobles turned to one another and sought friendship and peace. Now finally, it actually took Romeo and Juliet to die, and after their death only, the two families could become friends. So we can see how difficult it was for them. However, they tried their best to cool down the trouble between them. Now there are some questions given after the chapter that I really want you all to do. Now see, it says here, we have some chapters here. Page 71, Romeo and Juliet. We have some question and answers here. Why did Romeo want to go to Lord Capulet's feast? So the answer is given on the first page. He wanted to go there. It is on page number. Just let me have a look. See, it is here. He wanted to go there as many fair ladies were invited, and one of them was Rosalind, whom he was in love. So he wanted to go there so that he can meet Rosalind. Why did Tybalt want a chance to kill Romeo? Because Romeo was actually the son of the enemies of Capulet. Why was Romeo troubled when he learned who Juliet was? The moment he got to know that Juliet was the daughter of his father's biggest enemy, Lord Capulet, he was troubled. At first, Friar Lawrence disapproved of Romeo's plan to marry Juliet, but later he changed his mind. Why? He changed his mind. He thought that maybe their marriage could bring peace between the families. Maybe their marriage would be the first thing that will resolve the issues between the families. Why did Romeo kill Tybalt? Now Romeo, he never wanted to kill him, but in a sudden blow, because of his anger, and he couldn't control himself because he had killed one of his friends, and just because of his anger he wanted to control him, but still somehow he ended up killing him. Okay, how did the Prince of Verona settle the murder case? By sending Romeo away to means he actually said that Romeo will not stay here. He sent him away, out of the country. Romeo's punishment seemed to him just as heavy as death. Why? Because he was, recently married to Juliet, and getting away from Juliet was one of the biggest punishments he could have ever got. What news did Lady Capulet bring her daughter, which she hoped might prove a happy surprise for her? Now, Lady Capulet, she thought that the news of her marriage with Count Paris might bring her some happiness. Maybe she'll be happy to know that very soon she'll be married to Lord or Count Paris, but she was not. What remedy did Friar Lawrence propose to help Juliet? We remember that Friar Lawrence, he gave Juliet a potion by drinking which she would fall into a deep sleep, and then of course while she's sleeping, what will happen? People will think that she's dead and will put her into the grave from where Romeo will take away Juliet with him forever. Okay. What did Juliet say to her parents when she returned from her visit to the priest? That she is ready to marry, and then she also acted in a very nice manner. She even told her father that everything she is now in hands of her father. She was happy with her father, right? Why did the day which had begun so happily for the Capulet family end in heavy sorrow? Because they thought Juliet was dead, and for Juliet's because of her dead body, because of her death, they were all shocked. It was a happy day. Juliet was supposed to get married on that day, but everything turned into sorrow. Okay, let's see the next one. Why did Romeo decide to take poison? He thought that if Juliet is really dead, then he would kill himself. Why did Count Paris go to Juliet's grave? Count Paris, he went to Juliet's grave to protect it from the enemies. As he was dying, what did Count Paris ask Romeo to do? Count Paris wanted Romeo to do one thing, that is take him and make her lie next to Juliet's dead body. For whom did Juliet ask when he awoke from her long sleep? She asked for her Lord Romeo. How did Juliet kill herself? She took a dagger and she ran it through her heart. Why did Friar Lawrence say, okay, let my old life be sacrificed sometime before its natural end? Friar Lawrence, he was feeling sad, and he thought that whatever is happening or whatever has happened, and that he will be blamed for it and he'll be punished for it. So he was pretty sure, and he really wanted to give up his life. What did the Prince of Verona say had been the first cause of all these painful happenings? Prince of Verona said that all these sad happenings are because of their enmity, because of the enmity between the Capulets and the Montagues. However, after that, finally both the families agreed and they became friends forever, right? So that is it. I'll do one thing. I'll make a PDF of all the question and answers, and I'll upload it. I'll send it to you so that you don't have to worry. You can mark the answers directly in the book itself. Okay? So that is it for today. We'll continue with the rest in the next video. Thank you.